owner of Pacific Heights Health Club here in beautiful San Francisco, and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about strategies and tips for overcoming your biggest weight loss challenges. So let me go back a little bit. So I've been the owner here since June of 2004, and back when Rich Cunha was a trainer here, we had a member who trained with him 3 times a week, right? And it was to lose weight and get stronger. And he would come in and he would work out hard for that hour with Rich, and he would actually stay and we'd see him on the elliptical for another hour. So you would think, wow, that's a lot of working out, right? After about a month or so, we're looking and we're seeing what kind of results he's getting, and we noticed he actually hadn't lost any weight. So we dug a little deeper, and we found out that on his stressful days after work, he would go home and he would actually eat an entire pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. So there's kind of a lesson here, right? You can't out-train a bad diet. Anyway, so these days when I meet with clients for the first time, I always ask, what is the biggest challenge that you run up against when you're trying to lose weight? So before I share their answers, I just want to thank each and every one of them actually for having the courage to actually share that challenge. Sometimes the struggle can be a very private one and a very lonely one, and so the fact that they're actually even asking for help is actually a huge step. And clearly everyone is different. So I definitely noticed some recurring themes though, and so just kind of remember too that the folks that I'm talking to are ones that are thinking about joining a health club. So there's a little bit of an exercise bias, okay? I tried to pick the ones that were going to resonate with as many of you as possible. So here are the 10 challenges, okay? I'm going to look here on my screen just so I get them here. So first one I hear is not enough time or lack of time, right? The next one is I'm too tired. Third one is I hate exercise, or a variation of that would be I get bored, yeah? There's also my favorite, number 4, lack of motivation. Number 5 is stress eating. Number 6 is carb cravings, so that could be both sugary snacks as well as like potato chips and more starchy stuff. Number 7 is I'm too out of shape to start exercising. Number 8 is I've tried diets, tried like all the different ones, right? And I've lost the weight only to gain it back again. Number 9 is I have an injury, or I had an injury, or I've been ill, and so I'm afraid of getting hurt again. And number 10 is that I just really don't know where to start, and I don't really have a plan. So I'm going to go through these kind of in order, right? And we'll kind of go from there. If this is getting a little long for you, don't worry about it. I'm going to be posting it. I will actually also note, sort of timestamp, when I cover the different topics in case one of those really, really hits home for you. Okay, so let's see. Not enough time. So this one definitely comes up in different forms, right? I hear it as I'm too busy. I can hear it as classes are too long, or training sessions too long. It could come out as I travel too much, right? And there's also the looking for the right time to get started. So kind of waiting for that time when my schedule's going to clear up. So I would like to start with actually just defining what exercise is. So when your doctor tells you, I want you to eat healthier and exercise more, what are they actually talking about? So I actually looked it up in the medical dictionary, and this is what it says, okay? It says, exercise is a physical activity that is planned, structured, and repetitive for the purpose of conditioning any part of the body. Exercise is used to improve health, maintain fitness, and is important as a means of physical rehabilitation. So I want to remind you now that when we talk about not enough time, that bouts of 10 minutes are actually enough to make a difference. So can you spare 10 minutes in your day, right? And if you're going to do it, I would say to try to go at it at an intensity level that is challenging for you. So there's also really no perfect or right way to exercise, right? A lot of folks use that all or nothing approach that, well, sometimes ends up leading to nothing. It's kind of along those lines of the looking for the right time. So it might be more helpful for you to think about it as a continuum, right? Some days you have 5 or 10 minutes, other days you actually might be able to go for a 3-hour hike, right? And all of that actually counts. So there's one other thing when we talk about not having enough time. I would actually say that it's actually, we always talk about if something's important enough to you that you would make time for it. So what I would actually say here then is that we want to figure out how to get it so that you perceive it as a high enough priority for you, right? Okay, so what else is there? If you want some tips on how to change that perception so you treat the time for working out as a non-negotiable on your schedule, then it starts with, I would want you to start with thinking about it as self-care, right? So, which is actually a whole other conversation, and that's probably better one-on-one, but if you're looking for ways to free up your time, right, you can ping me. There are some things like you can write down everything that you do in a day, right, and how much time you spend doing it, and then if you were to eliminate all the ones that you're like, why am I spending my time doing that, you can see actually how much time you free up in the process. Okay, so what else is there? If you need some guidance on what appropriate exercises would be, the intensity level that you're looking for, please go ahead and private message me. I'm happy to share some of that information, and I'll actually probably post some workouts for you as well. Okay, so let's see. The next thing is folks say they're too tired, right, to work out. So after a long day of work, you get home and the last thing you want to do is go and work out. So this one actually can be a pretty vicious feedback loop. The good news is that it can be a negative one, but it could also be a really positive one. So if you're too tired to exercise after work, have you tried actually structuring your day so that you work out first thing in the morning? So a couple years back, I actually had a teacher who restructured her whole day. It's Lisa, right? And Lisa actually restructured her whole day so that she actually came and worked out first thing in the morning at 6 a.m. And she told me that the energy that she got from that, where she really sort of got ahead of everything and started her day sort of not feeling like she was behind, made a huge difference, especially going into the end of the year. So she had energy that she usually didn't have. So let's see. What else is there? If you're tired because you're not getting enough quality sleep, we have actually found that most people, when they start working out, after about a week or two of consistent exercising, it actually leads to more energy and better focus. So again, if you can even just get like 10 minutes of pretty intense working out in the morning, that can actually make a big difference, right? So, and again, it kind of goes back to the too tired to actually make time for. If we go back to the how do we make it a higher priority, then you actually will make time for it. So number 3 is one of my favorites. It's that I've heard this a lot, I hate exercise, or I find cardio really, really boring, right? So I really want to tell you that the human body was meant to move, right? Brain development follows movement. So I would go back and ask you, like, how are you defining exercise? And what have you actually tried? So what have you actually been doing for exercise, right? this kind of goes back to that question of what's the best exercise, right? A lot of people will say the best exercise is the one that you'll do consistently. So I would think about how you're defining exercise, and then really look for activities that you enjoy. So dancing counts, walking counts, going for a hike, running, biking, swimming, playing tennis, golf, basketball. They all count, right? You're moving your body. So if you're looking for built-in company, there are tons of classes out there, group fitness classes. So ClassPass is a great option. We have a lot of folks that come to the club to try out our classes. They're craving variety a lot of times, or it's actually a great way to sample classes from a lot of different studios before you actually pick one as well. So if you have any questions around that, feel free to message me. If you look around in a class, right, and maybe one of the thoughts that you have is that you're worried about not being able to keep up with the rest of the class, or you're worried that in trying to keep up you might get hurt, or you look around and you're the oldest person, right, in the room, then it's not about not liking the class. It could be that you just need to keep looking for a place that caters to maybe an older, more sophisticated crowd, right? Which is something that we specialize here in Pacific Heights Health Club. So one other thing is, if you're a boomer or senior, there's a great resource called the Functional Aging Institute. They actually have a directory of trainers who specialize in functional fitness for active aging. So that's a shout out to Dan Ritchie and Cody Seid. Okay? So lack of motivation, that's number 4. I hear this a lot, right? And usually when we look at lack of motivation, my big question for you is, what is your why, right? So when you know your why do you want to do this, it becomes a lot easier when you're thinking about skipping the workout to actually go for it. So you want to think of big picture, right? So why do you want to lose weight? And then dig a little deeper, like whatever answer you come up with, ask yourself, why is this important to me, right? A year from now, when you're looking back, right, what progress would you want to see, right, where you're like, yeah, this is where I want to go. So I want you to be able to picture where you want to be, right? What are you wearing? What are you doing? How do you feel, right? And then really think about how your health and fitness relate to, say, your top 3 priorities in life, right? So a lot of folks will say their family and kids, might be work, might be to go travel the world. All of those things, how does that health and fitness relate to those things that are really important to you? So, and whether it's work or your relationship, right, with friends and family, what version of you do you want to show up? Like, how do you want to be present for that? And how does health and fitness help with that, right? So when you put that in context, right, and then you think about, I'm trying to create a new habit. So I'm going to actually encounter resistance while I'm trying to create this new groove, right? It's going to take some time. So you're letting go of some old, really familiar habits, right, to make room for new ones that maybe are unfamiliar. So resistance is expected. But that also means that you can plan for it. So go ahead, if this is one of those that gets in your way, I would say go ahead and really think about your why. Journal it if you need to. Once you actually get to something that has an emotional charge to it, go ahead and put it on like a post-it note and stick it on your fridge, or put it on a notebook, something like that, to remind yourself. So on those days when you maybe don't feel like working out, you can go back to it and remind yourself why you're doing this. Yeah? Okay. So number 5 is stress eating. Okay, so again, what's getting in your way to lose weight? So one of those things that's really important when it comes to stress eating is to actually recognize the triggers. Okay, so when you actually are getting that desire to, whether it's to have a glass of wine after a long day and you really want to de-stress, or you're reaching for that Ben and Jerry's ice cream, right? Or maybe for you it's potato chips. I don't know, right? Whatever it happens to be. If you can recognize that trigger and then pause, okay, and then insert some substitute behavior that shifts your focus and your mindset. So the best way I know how to think about this is like when you wake up first thing in the morning, you're in a different frame of mind, right? And do you crave that ice cream? Probably not. So how do we get your brain to focus on something else? So I like to recommend that you do a little balance exercise, and I do have a video that I will pull up again and share with you guys. But it's a balance exercise where you actually stand with your feet one in front of the other, so in tandem, and you stand up straight and you cross your arms, okay, and then you close your eyes and you try to hold that position for a minute. Okay, again, this is what you're doing when you originally were going to do some stress eating. Okay, so, and because I don't want to create an imbalance, right, after you hold that position for a minute, I want you to switch and put the other foot in front, so you're in tandem again, cross your arms, close your eyes, and do that for a minute. So you've worked on your balance, and you've actually also spent an entire 2 minutes thinking about something else, right? So more often than not, that pause is a great reset, and that need to stress eat might calm down a little bit, right? And you know, if you still want to eat, go ahead. Really, it's fine. But you'll be practicing. You'll try different ways to actually go about, you know, hitting that reset button. I've even had some folks like start journaling, and that might actually work for you too. Okay. So we're moving right along. Number 6 is carb cravings. So this is a close cousin, right, to stress eating. So when it comes to carb cravings or cravings of any kind, one of the things that you really want to think about is whether your body is confusing thirst with hunger. So we generally like to encourage folks to drink half their body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 100 pounds, that would be 50 ounces, right? If you weigh 200 pounds, then we're talking about 100 ounces of water a day. So for carb cravings, if instead of worrying about depriving yourself of the stuff that you like to eat, if you instead focus more on eating nutrient-dense foods, so stuff that has fiber in it, that would be vegetables and fruit, right? So green veggies like spinach, bok choy, kale, broccoli, as well as all the non-green ones. So you're actually trying to aim for like all the colors of the rainbow during the week, okay? So the key here is to focus on eating more of the stuff, right? And not focus on oh, I'm depriving myself of and getting into that scarcity mindset. So just think about, it's like teenagers, right? You tell them not to do something, they just want to do it more. So if our body is actually missing some nutrients, sometimes those cravings are a way of like your body going in search of too. So so to recap, right, make sure you're getting enough water, and then make sure you're getting plenty of food that has fiber, and actually some fat too, because the fiber will tell you that your stomach is full, and the fat will actually signal to your brain that you're full. Okay, so number 7. I hear this sometimes. I'm really too out of shape. So it's kind of related to the, I'm afraid of getting injured. Okay, so this is probably one of those times when the do-it-yourself model might not be the best one for you, and that you actually want to look for a good trainer to help you, because this is when you want or instructor, right? If you're going to a class. So this is when proper form is really important. Okay, This is when you want to make sure that you've got the correct movement patterns in place, right? And that you're regaining muscle, rebuilding the muscle that you've lost, and endurance, and then along with that, confidence in your body. Okay, so I would say, especially when it comes to if you haven't worked out in a while or you're rehabbing an injury, patience is key here, because obviously if we re-injure ourselves, that's a huge setback, right? So this is where slow and steady really makes a difference. And I want to remind you of Maya Angelou, right? She has a great quote. She says, all great achievements take time. So I'm going to repeat that. All great achievements take time. And that leads me to number 8, which is that I've tried diets and I've lost a bunch of weight only to gain it back and then some, right? So I think diets a lot of times really play to that. We want a quick fix, right? It's that we're not being patient. And structure drives behavior. So when you're approaching weight loss as something that needs to happen in a fairly short period of time, I actually think you're probably setting yourself up for failure if at the same time I tell you and you buy into the idea that it's about creating a healthy lifestyle, okay? Because the structure, if you think about this, the structure of these diets and meal plans tends to be you want to follow that particular structure, right? So think about it as like someone is fishing for you as opposed to teaching you how to fish. Now, if you can take a meal plan or a diet and look at that and say, hey, this is how I'm going to start preparing my food from now on, that's a whole other story, right? I'm talking about where maybe you're going with those prepackaged meal plans and you're actually following a pretty strict diet, and then when you've lost the weight that you want to, you go off of that plan, and then you go back to the way you were eating to begin with, right? So meal plans they're not about creating a new habit. Now, meal prep is a different story, right? Meal prep is more about preparing healthier meals so that when you're actually going to grab something to eat, that it's on the healthier side. So that's actually more planning oriented. So that's one thing. The second thing, and this is really, really important, right, is weight. When people talk about losing weight, we're really fixated on the number on the scale, right? It's one number, it's one data point, okay? And that's not necessarily the best indicator of our health. Think about it like when your doctor looks at all your vitals, right? They're not just looking at one number, okay? So how is your lifestyle affecting all of your numbers, right? So when we're looking at numbers, we tend to look at body composition. So we're looking at things like your lean body mass versus the amount of body fat that you have in your system. And when we look at, instead of calling it weight loss, we look at fat loss. Okay, and if that's the goal, then what you choose to do becomes very different in terms of how to get there. So now you're not thinking about losing a bunch of water weight, right? And you're probably not even thinking about, I want to lose 20 pounds in, say, 6 weeks or something like that. Because it takes more time to actually build muscle, right? And there's all kinds of stuff happening at a cellular level in order to make that happen for you. Okay, so I would say instead of getting lured by that quick fix, is to try a different approach, right? If the dieting hasn't been working for you, I say, how about we try the long game, right? So let's focus on small changes that change the trajectory. So focus on more muscle and fat loss instead of weight loss, right? So small changes. Let's see. Let me think. What would be a small change? So we talked about the 10 minutes of cardio, right? We also talk about What would be some other things, small changes? Coming in and taking a class once a week. Those are small changes, right? It could be drinking more water. Those are all small changes. And then if you focus, instead of the number on the scale, but you focus more on building muscle, instead of losing weight, you might end up losing inches. So we had, just this past summer, we had one of our Little Black Dress Project participants who actually at the end of it was like, I actually gained a pound. I didn't lose any weight. And when we actually looked at her numbers, she had lost 4.5 inches on her waist. So besides just feeling better, obviously her clothes were fitting differently too, right? So again, that whole not to worry so much about that number on the scale is my takeaway there. Okay. Number 9 is that you have an injury, or maybe you've been ill and so you haven't actually been working out and you're worried about re-injuring yourself. So I would say this is very similar to when you're really out of shape, right? And you're afraid of getting hurt. This is when you really want to find a good trainer or instructor that will show you and guide you proper form, how to rebuild your confidence, get some good movement patterns in there, right, to prevent the injury from occurring to begin with. And again, patience is key here. So let's see. What else here? Oh, number 10. So we're coming to the end, the home stretch here. Number 10 is you don't know where to start and you really don't have a plan. So if you joined a gym, right, it's January 31st right now. So if you joined a gym and you did a bunch of cardio and you've been doing that for 2-3 weeks, and in the beginning you saw some good results and now you've plateaued, right? If that's what happened to you, then I would say one option for you would be to sign up for a program that is structured like our Little Black Dress Project. So it includes working with a personal trainer. We do some motivation and mindset coaching. We have nutrition coaching. You get that support and accountability built into it. So if you're looking for more of a transformation and jumpstart, that's something that you could look at. Our approach, though, right, just so you know, is really focused on forming healthy habits. So our secret sauce is about starting small. Okay, so again, I talked about this earlier. Little changes, right, are key. So what we do is we look for habits that you have already, and then we look for little changes that we can make to piggyback on your current habits, right? So an example might be if you want to make sure that you drink more water, then you could make sure that you have a big glass of water before you actually have your morning coffee, or with your morning coffee might be an example, right? If you're looking for more ideas on how to drink more water, let me know. I'm happy to share, right? We actually have like a healthy habits checklist that I'm gonna post a link to in the comments section for you. So if you're again looking for a way to get started, that would be something that you could check out. Okay, so I really hope that this video has proven helpful for you, right? I'm sharing just a little bit of what I've learned as the owner and trainer here at Pacific Heights Health Club. And my wish for you is that it inspires you to take action, right? And to really pursue your dreams. So if there's anything else I can do to help, please reach out by commenting below or send me a private message. If there are any other topics that you would like for me to talk about, feel free again to comment below or send me a message. And that's it. Half an hour. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon. See you at the club.